Hello and welcome to another Dwarven Tavern video. This is, I'm Dr. Jeff Goins.
I'm Lyric Goins.
And we are continuing our discussion of the Fae. Ba-ba-ba. And specifically how to play in Dungeon Master for the Fae, or with the Fae, or of the Fae, or on the Fae. I mean,
other determiners.
The Fae are so unpredictable. You could be literally sitting on a chair that is a Fae creature, and you'd never know it.
Never know.
Except when you are like 80 years old and you want to sit down, and the chair suddenly moves out from under you, and you break a hip and die.
And the Fae's like, haha.
And the Fae's like, haha. I only had to wait 80 years for that.
That's a bargain.
That's a bargain.
Wait till I tell George.
George the fairy.
Why not?
Sure, they're Fae. They can do whatever they want. So, I'm going to speak as the Dungeon Master, and you can speak as the player, because you've had experience with that, and
yes.
so have I with in Dungeon Mastering. So, go first.
When it comes to playing a Fae, you want to make sure that you keep the mindset of an inconsistent character on the table, because usually when it comes to playing a character, it's you have a set personality, and you you have a set personality, and you always abide by that personality. And for example, I have a monk who's very stoic and stern, and he is always just with his decisions, and even if it affects his other companions negatively. Like saving their lives.
Not letting them rush into battle when they want to.
And because they could die. But his character, his attitude remains that constant. Like, he's kind of a flat character in his personality. And that's usually how characters are played, is that their personalities are flat. And I think the one instance where my character did not change their personality, off track, I know, but the one instance is when my half-orc thief saved an angel's life and then ended up becoming a lawful good paladin. That was just a 180. It was a situational thing.
Yeah.
Back to the point. Fae are characters of indecision and fickleness, and just
Ficklosity.
Fickle the pickle.
Fickleacious.
But they're moody and
Ficklesumptuous.
Just keep it coming, Dad.
I certainly will.
They're characters that can't make up their minds. Or
and
that they
you
don't...
get a suffix, and you get a suffix. I'm sorry, I had an Oprah moment there.
But you made me lose my train of thought.
Oh, no.
Just derailed.
But
what I am trying to say, is that when your character is a Fae, they go on their instincts, they go on what they feel in that moment. You can almost play your Fae as you are feeling that day. That rhymed, I did that on purpose. But if you're mad at something else that's outside of game, your character can all of a sudden be mad because they're Fae.
So that brings up an interesting point about alignment in games that have alignment, like D&D.
Yeah. It also brings up metagaming.
Mm-hmm. Metagaming. So are all Fae, in your opinion, all player character Fae, should they be kind of typecast as chaotic neutral?
Almost neutral. Where they don't... well, chaotic is it's more fitting because they're so chaotic.
And they're so neutral.
They're definitely neutral because they don't care about one way or the other. The rules, that BS, they don't care. But when it comes to chaos or lawful, they're not lawful. And I wouldn't say that, I think you're right. They are chaotic neutral because they're not true neutral either. Where they like to bend toward themselves. Unlike one of our friends who is actually, his alignment is true neutral and he doesn't bend toward anything. You do like, yeah, do whatever. I'm cool with it. It's all
neutral.
good.
I'm pretty neutral.
So, I mean, that's the difference between true neutral and chaotic neutral. Is true neutral is like, whatever sounds good to you sounds good to me. Chaotic neutral is whatever sounds good to me is good for you too. I don't care what you actually think. So, I think that not just fairies, but I think that fae in general, they would be typecasted as chaotic neutral. In most cases. There might be specific fae that actually do abide by the law, or they do follow the rules of, like, say, a god or a goddess.
Until they decide not to.
Yeah, and then, well, that's still, I mean, that would still be chaotic. But there's also fae that are inherently better or worse.
So in reality, you could take that even one thing farther than chaotic neutral and say that their very alignment could change for whatever length of time they wanted to. So they could go from lawful good to chaotic evil, and then, true neutral back to lawful good, then to lawful evil.
Yeah, I mean, their personality and their mindset is so distorted compared to our own that makes sense to them. That all of a sudden, I, who am a naturally lawful good person, all of a sudden I feel like being a chaotic douchebag. So
Chaotic douchebag.
that can come into play, and it changes the character entirely. But at the same time, it remains consistent because they're a fae.
They're a fae. Yeah.
So, all in all, in that statement is...
So that would be meta chaotic neutral.
Yes. So, in conclusion to this particular rant, when you are playing a fae, make sure that the personality isn't a flat personality. Make sure that that character is not just a round character, but almost like a Mobius strip character.
Wow,
where they've got so many personalities that you can't keep track. It's almost like a personality disorder for your character. As long as they are... I want to say that most fae are selfish. They care about only themselves.
Well, I don't know if it's selfish or if it's their own internal... They have their own internal motivations. I mean, some of their...
That still can be defined as selfish.
It could be, but what if that internal motivation was to be to help everyone regardless of...
Well, that's still selfish because you still want to help everybody. And, okay. I call them selfish because no matter what they do, it revolves around their self.
So you're saying there's a difference between being selfish and being avaricious.
Quit throwing your big vocabulary at me.
Avarice is not a big word.
It is.
It's three syllables.
Dad, I'm still in college. It'll take a while.
3 syllables, ladies and gentlemen. Avarice is greedy.
Okay, thank you.
Take it down to 2 syllables.
Take it down to 2.
Take it down to 2.
But...
Yeah, so selfish does not mean...
Because I flaunt my ignorance.
Selfish does not... does not necessarily connote greedy or avaricious.
Yeah.
You're saying that they're very self-oriented as far as their motivation.
That might be the word that I'm looking for, is self-oriented. They're very... they could be self-righteous. They could be greedy. They could be self-absorbed. They could... As long as it's dealing with their self... with who they are and what they want, that's what matters most.
But couldn't you say that's everyone?
No. I actually know quite a lot of people, mostly from Japan, that care only about the well-being of other people. Taverneer Lisa is kind of like that type of personality, where she cares about most of everybody else but herself, and then forgets herself a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what makes her human.
She would actually disembowel herself and throw you her own intestines for a rope if you needed to be pulled up out of the pit. That's
our cleric.
It's a terrible image, but
it's true.
I don't want her to ever do that.
So, Dungeon Master.
Okay, so when you are scouring your books for that perfect fairy creature, and you just can't find it because of whatever reason, you may just wish to invent your own species of fae.
Was the Namek fae, or was he a demon?
He was demon.
Okay.
He was a demon, straight up demon. He was an all fours demon, but the Fae, with all this that we've already discussed, should give you a good guideline as far as what needs to be done when creating a Fae creature. When you are creating a Fae creature, you have to consider the less powerful they are, meaning the fewer hit dice, or the lower intelligence, or both. Hit dice and intelligence are, they connote power. Mm-hmm. They're connotative of power. The fewer they are, the more they are kind of bound by their own restrictions, whatever those restrictions are, and the fewer things the less freedom that they have, mm-hmm. as fairy creatures. The little creatures the little fairies that jot about in the cartoons and make the flowers open in the daytime and stuff like that. Those are very, very small hit dice, very, not necessarily low intelligence, but probably pretty singular of purpose. And they have one job, and they do it pretty religiously, because if it wasn't for them, the flowers wouldn't open in the daytime. Mm-hmm. And then all the flowers would die, and the fairies would be sad. Maleficent is another really good example of the fairy world. The
cartoon, the Disney movie,
the movie with
the animation,
Angelina Jolie.
Okay, because I haven't seen that yet.
Oh, okay.
I'm very far behind on my movie making.
With no spoilers, there are a couple of wood creatures. They're not ints or treants, but they're like guards.
Dryads?
No, they're like big, burly, husky.
Oh.
And their bark is not worse than their bite.
Oh.
But they are very singular of purpose, even though they are Fae. And Maleficent, very high hit die, very high intelligence, very high level chick, very high cheekbones. She can do pretty much anything she wants, but she was still bound by certain restrictions, with no spoilers. She was still bound by certain restrictions. So when you, as the DM, create your Fae, as with anything, really, the more detail you can put into its backstory, whether anybody else knows about it or not. This is all just for you. And it's the same thing with writing a play. When you're writing a play, you should write at least a couple of pages worth of backstory for each character, just so you know how that character will behave. And with all other creatures that have certain vulnerabilities, like a demon's true name, right? They guard their vulnerabilities very, very selfishly, and that is one word where selfish means what it sounds like. Because if a fairy knows, and fairies are aware of their own vulnerabilities. For example, if you have a fairy that can't cross through a cobweb for whatever reason,
they'll get stuck.
They'll get stuck, or it'll set their skin on fire, or they can't break the cobweb because they're a little OCD.
Right. Yeah.
Because fairies, they're like that. So if you get one that can't pass through a cobweb or can't break a cobweb in any way, then that fairy will very, very greedily guard that secret so that people won't have a lot of spiders in their homes and create cobwebs that the fairies can't just go back and forth through. And because they want their freedom, so they'll guard that secret.
Right.
So if you are dungeon mastering for in a fairy campaign, or just a campaign with fairies in it, the Fae in it, make that knowledge something that the characters will really have to research the holy crap out of. Go hire sages and go to libraries and universities and do some deep dark digging. I'll say it. I will say it. That they will do some deep dark digging in order to find a hint at that information that they'll have to figure out. That could be an entire adventure in itself. Trying to figure out how to stop, the fairy king Hassenfloffer, who's immune to missiles. He's immune to, weapons of all types. Magic can't harm him. Spells can't harm him.
And his minions and fairy followers are abducting children in the nearest village.
And the only way to stop them is to stop him. And what no one knows is that, like milkweed seeds are extremely toxic to him, or they scare him away, and he can't enter the realm if his throne is, I don't know, dusted with the bark of a thistle.
Yeah, and you have to do it at a specific time,
at
like
a specific
when the moon
time,
is right.
and that in itself.
Or when he's taking a bath.
Yeah, or when he's taking a bath, you drop in a few drops of lavender in his bath water, and he will shrivel up
and die.
And
all the fairies with that ruler, they just run amok.
Yeah, they would just run off and do whatever because they're fairies, and they, it's like, oh, we can't dominate the world. Let's go have lunch in a field and play some music because they're freaking fairies, and that's what they do.
Yeah.
So, I guess the rules of dungeon mastering for the fairies are to make them capricious, make them obey their own rules.
Yeah, got to make sure that your characters remember that they are following certain rules, and that as fairies or whatever fae that they choose, those rules stay followed. Because otherwise, that's getting out of character.
Yeah, because there was a fairy in one of my campaigns. They said it could only be hit by +4 weapons. And a couple of guys they were all bamf and,
Macho.
they were like, we're going to do this. And they struck it with their +5 Vorpal weapons, and it didn't hurt it. They bounced off.
That's kind of a word play, like loophole thing.
Yeah, and they like, what the heck, man? You said that they could be hit by +4 better weapons. And I said, I didn't say +4 or better. I said it was +4 weapons. They have to, and they're like, no, we don't have anything that's +4. Everything is either +5 or like +1. I'm like, well, looks like you're going to have to run away and find something else to do. And they were pretty ticked because, of course, most players, they want to go for the highest bonuses they can get, and if +5 is the soup du jour, or the bonus du jour, that's what they're going to go for. So, and that's how the fairy do. And it was something very specific. So when you're creating your fairy, you don't have to make every fairy like that, because some fairies are just like, ugh.
And that's that.
And that's that.
The end.
Like Labyrinth, remember that?
Yes.
Hosing down those little dickweeds. But
very appropriate.
Yeah, very.
Use of dickweed.
Yes. They were. So, you don't have to make it something that's unattainable unless that's the adventure. Make it something that is commensurate to their level of power. Like something below a certain level can be, a boot to the head will kill them. Whereas if it goes up in power, that's only, like cold wrought iron or, adamantium or something very specific. And the specificer, the harder it will be to kill. And you don't even have to do damage reduction. I mean, it's your world. You can do what you want to with it. So if you can say they're invulnerable to anything that's not, like good aligned, or something that hasn't been, something that, like even touched by a newborn babe. You could take your sword and hold it down and let a newborn baby touch it, and it's suddenly a fairy slayer for that particular thing. And, you don't have to kill the child, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
The baby go, ooh, shiny.
The baby look at it. And its innocence blesses the blade. Or
right.
Something. Be creative. Be imaginative. Use your thoughts.
I'm sure there's. Feel free to use some of these ideas.
Oh yeah, please do. If you do, let us know.
Yeah, and tell us how it goes.
Drop us a line and see if anybody figures it out.
That's the important part here.
Yeah, it very very much is, because the fairy is the fae. I keep saying the fairy.
Me too.
The fae is a realm of possibilities and unknowns.
Yeah.
And that's what gives them their power.
Although when you keep trying to come up with something to say like the milkweed or the baby touch, I'm like, water. Make it water.
Make it water.
Make it water. But water of what? I mean, it could be like dirty water from your sink, or
the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, I'm saying like you can use.
She could be a fae.
She was a fae. She was a witch, and she's. I mean, if she's, I'm not even gonna get into that. But what I'm saying is that you can make it literally anything to solve the problem and get rid of the infestation.
Yeah,
for lack of better words.
Yeah, you could even create a table, a random table where you.
That would be cool.
You roll and you say they're vulnerable to the tincture of butterfly wings.
Or like,
and actually,
they can be slayed, or let's see, they wither when you pour animal blood on them. So it's that would be a really cool idea.
Yeah,
that would be cool if some one of you could come up with a table of fae. I guess vulnerabilities.
Or we might and post it on the. We'll post it on the webpage.
That would be cool. That would be cool. I think we should invest in that.
We'll do that. Look for that on the www.dwarventavern.net in the house rules section, and I'll have a list of random conditions table or something. I'll figure it out for fae.
Specifically for fae, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah. Okay, so. With that being said, I think we've covered everything that we wanted to. We might mention something else.
And if you have any questions,
if you have any questions or ideas or suggestions, let us know. You know that we love to communicate with all you folks out yonder. So let us know what you think. Any ideas, we welcome them. We love them, whether we agree with them or not.
They're good.
Yeah, they're good. It's all good, and it's for your game that matters. So.
That's why we do this.
That is. It really is. And our own games, too, because we're fae and we're very selfish like that. We are here for you because we love ourselves.
So on behalf of the entire cast and crew of the Dwarven Tavern,
I am Dr. Jeff Goins.
I am Lyric Goins, and we wish for you to want nothing but adventure. And at first I feared it, then I charged. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.